No, I mean, Bellingham obviously had an unbelievable season with Real Madrid, isn't he? A club form, but we've seen probably one bit of magic was the overhead kick against Slovakia. That's a brilliant goal, but individually, that's about it. He's done the whole thing. Kane doesn't look himself at all. I mean, when Southgate picked the squad for this tournament, you thought, do you know what, he's left Maddison at home, he's left Grealish, he's left Maguire. I know he's an injury risk, but he's actually brought in these younger players, and you know what, he might freshen it all up, he might give them the opportunity to play. But maybe by leaving the likes of Grealish at home and Maddison, he's like thinking, well, they're not going to upset me, these young players on the bench. They'll be happy enough to sit there where I can play the likes of Kane and Bellingham and not upset the apple cart, these experienced players. But if you want to be a top manager and you want to win trophies, which of course the England manager does, then you have to make big calls. I mean, Harry Kane, I know he scored 3 goals, but he looked miles off it, he really did. And if you had a starter with Watkins or even Ivan Toney, you know, they're looking around thinking, well, he's not moving well, why aren't I getting a start?
Do you think Richie is the sort of manager that is inclined to avoid confrontation as he would see it and sort of takes the least path of resistance?
No, I think on his squad selection, I think he did make big calls. He left out Grealish, he left out Rashford, he left out Henderson.
But was leaving Grealish out a big call, really, because he had a poor season by his previous standards?
Yeah, but I think it's a fair call. I think it was the correct call. He looked at a £100 million player and said, I know you have a huge name, big reputation, you're English terms a superstar, but you haven't been playing, you're staying at home. I think that's a big call. I think his selection, I don't think it's just about blind loyalty. I don't think he looks at his team and I think of no footballing reasons to pick you a lot, but I like you and I've picked you before, so I'll pick you again. I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he genuinely believes that that's the most solid, structured team that meets his version of how this team should play and can play. And go back to 2.5 hours ago, they were walking out to a final, their second Euros final in a row. So the choices are vindicated. His approach in one way, you can turn around and go...
But are the choices vindicated when most would agree that he had probably the best squad in the entire tournament at his disposal, even better than Spain?
Yeah.
His reluctance. To drop Kane
I find myself just
cost him.
I agree with lots of what's being said, but because nobody at all is giving an ounce of balance, I find myself overly giving the alternative viewpoint. I agree. There's a tendency to play players where you think, Kane has shown you enough, take him off. Bellingham looks knackered. To mind his reputation, take him off. But in Southgate's mind, I don't think he's sitting there going, I can't take him off because the player will think less of me, or the player will upset the atmosphere in the dressing room. I just think he thinks, like the Slovakia game, if I keep him on, they're players that can deliver big moments. They've done it in the past.
That's quite naive, though, pinning your hopes on
really good players who've delivered them. That's management. That's management.
Yeah, but it didn't bring him a trophy, and the football was atrocious. Out of the 10 worst games in the tournament, England was responsible for 7. Yeah?
6. And the Netherlands game was okay.
Netherlands the first half. And the thing is, you see the Kane, why he's not moving, I do not know. But I don't care, it's not my problem. They've got a doctor there, and physios. Yeah. Now, they've been behind in all the games, in the knockout games, including today. In 4 games, they've been behind. Now, if you have played Watkins, who we've seen, there was a through ball from Bellingham where he miscontrols it, all of a sudden it's dangerous. Palmer comes on, he scores after 5 minutes. Now, imagine if this team goes ahead in one of the games. Imagine playing with Foden, you bring Eze on, you bring Gordon on. You know, if this team is ahead, they won't be packed back. They won't be packed back because you've got players on the bench, 2 or 3 with ultimate pace. You bring these players on and they will run riot. They never had the chance to show it because he insisted on starting with Bellingham, with Kane, with the same players who didn't perform on every game they played. They didn't perform. So they've never been given a chance to go ahead in a game in the knockout stages because he's picked these players. Yeah, and if they had gone ahead, I don't think there would have been too many teams in the tournament who come back against England because the pace they've got, probably apart from France, no other team has.
Shay, you were smiling there when Didi said that the football from England was
I knew what was coming, that's all.
but would you agree with Didi's point?
I mean, it's very difficult. Again, I live in England, so I know what the media can be like. They can be cruel. And in a sense that maybe Southgate's sort of happy or protecting, like just getting there or just about getting to the final, and they look at his success, the first final in foreign soil, you know, hear all these different things, back-to-back Euro finals. They're trying to pick all the positives. But at the same time, I just feel like the fans in England be looking at the squad of players they have, and Richie mentions a few players I forgot about, Rashford and Sterling and all these other players.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's because the manager doesn't want these big name players on the bench, because they'll be going, I should be playing, get me on the pitch. So it's easier to leave the younger ones on, inexperienced ones. Well, you're not going to play because these are my blue chip brigade or whatever.
Well, even Watkins was complaining that he should have been on earlier.
Well, Watkins came on, he was pressing the goalkeeper, sprinting to the centre half, and it was rushing Spain into clearing the ball up the pitch. Harry Kane's press was a jog. They were just passing through. It was non-existent, you know. So, look, I don't know where England go from here. It's just frustrating because it's. I think they could have played a lot better. The Dutch first half, they were brilliant, and England fans are going, oh my goodness, if we can play like that in the final, we've got a great chance. But again, the final, they've been disappointing.